Hey, good Thursday to you, eighth graders. It's so good to be back with you learning together today. I'm standing in front of our kind of catch-all basket here that is by our fridge. Maybe you have a basket or a pile like this at your house. And the reason I'm here is because this is where we keep our stamps. So I'm just reminding you that you need a stamp for tomorrow so we can write our resident at the end in at Westport. Now I'm coming to you from my garage. I want to talk about credit for a little bit and the economic term called credit because it's going to come up in our lesson today with Alexander Hamilton. Let's say I go to my banker and say, I'd like to borrow money because my husband needs a pickup for work. Okay. What they're going to look at is my credit. They're going to look back on, oh, we gave you money when you needed to buy your van and you paid off your van like you said you would, so we trust you. So yes, we will give you money to buy the pickup. Now, if I hadn't had that past, they might not give me that money because they're not sure if they can trust me or not. But once I've paid off debt, I can show my banker, yes, you can trust me because I paid it off with my van. So now trust me with a loan for my pickup. One of the reasons that Alexander Hamilton wants the federal government to take over the wartime debt is to pay it off so they can build credit in case they need to borrow money in the future. So Alexander Hamilton is going to make his mark today and get America off to a great economic start. And we're going to read about that in just a minute. Could you have your books open for me as we get ready to learn today? You should be on page 249, and we're going to forge ahead to Alexander Hamilton and the new economy. We're going to read just the first little bit together. So could you follow along as I read on page 249? As president, Washington focused on foreign affairs and military matters. He rarely suggested new laws and almost always approved the bills the Congress had passed. So he's not making any waves. Hamilton, on the other hand, is going to make some waves. For the government's economic policies, the president depended on Alexander Hamilton, the Secretary of Treasury. Hamilton was in his early 30s when he took office, so fairly young. But he had bold plans and clear policies in mind. Hamilton had a difficult task. The federal, the parents, and the state, the kids, had borrowed money to pay for the American Revolution. They now owed millions of dollars to other countries and to American citizens. As a result, the nation faced serious financial trouble. Hamilton tried to improve the government's finances and strengthen the nation at the same time. Here's his plan of how he's going to do that. Okay, we got to get the nation out of debt. We got to get us started on a good foot. So what's he going to do? The House of Representatives asked Hamilton to make a plan for the adequate support of the public credit. This meant the United States needed a way to borrow money for its government and economy. To be able to borrow money in the future, the government had to prove it could pay it back the money it already owed. Okay, so just like I said, the bank isn't going to give me money to buy a pickup if I haven't paid off my van yet, or if I never paid it off and I still owe them. So paying one thing off is going to build your credit up. People are going to trust you. So Hamilton proposed that the federal government take over and pay off the state's wartime debts. So take everybody's debt, each state, and put it all together in one big pot and pay it off. He argued that paying off the debt as a nation would build national credit and it would make it easier for the nation to borrow money. So that's the key. If we pay this debt off, we're going to build our credit and we'll be able to borrow later. This is going to help us in the long run. Hamilton also believed that the federal payment of state debts would give the states a strong interest in the success of the national government. So he said, you know what? If we do this, states are going to cheer for us. Like, we're going to be in this together. We aren't going to be fighting each other, the parents and the kids, but we're going to be working together for this goal. So that's another positive to come out of it. All right. So now Hamilton is going to go on to propose more things. Like, he's going to propose a national bank, and he's going to propose one currency and all of these things. And you know what's going to divide them is what we talked about earlier in this unit, is how you view the Constitution. Okay? Remember, I had people over here that said, you know what? We can only read the Constitution word for word, a very strict interpretation. Only the things written in the Constitution, that's the only thing the government can do, the federal government. So it made government really small. It didn't give them a lot of power. But then you had people like Alexander Hamilton on this side that's saying, you know what? We need a little room to groove. It also says we can do whatever necessary and proper. So that's giving us some wiggle room to do what we can. Hey, if we can collect taxes, that must mean we could create a bank. That's just only common sense. So giving that federal government more power, making government big. Okay, so we have this side, word for word, small government. This side, loose, whatever necessary and proper, and a much bigger government. So you're going to watch that play out as you finish reading this section. Okay, what I'd like to do is show you what you're going to do on your own here for the rest of the time. When you go into your classroom and you see your to-do list, you'll see that what I'm talking about is all written here on your Chapter 9, Lesson 1B assignment. We took this lesson in 2 steps just because, yeah, it's a little bit longer. So here's Part B of the lesson that we started on Tuesday and Wednesday. You're going to finish reading page 249 and 251. Please read carefully. There's some tricky things in there, so read it word for word. Take your time. There's a few questions that I would like you to answer as you read. And then when you get to the end, I would like you to be Alex Trebek and look at all 3 pages. And I would like you to write answers and questions to this Jeopardy game. Okay, so don't talk about some of the information that I talked about up here. There's other information that you can cover in these 2. I purposely laid off some big topics to leave that open for you. But you're going to write 1 easy 100-point question and answer, 1 medium 200-point question and answer, and 1 difficult 300-point question and answer. All right. And then at the end, there is a 3-minute video produced by the National Constitution Center. It's not super flashy, but the information is awesome. It's 2 people having this argument that we just talked about. Okay. The lady represents Hamilton and those causing for on this side. Okay. Causing for big government. Okay. And the guy is this side, strict reading of the Constitution and small government. So they just have this argument back and forth about trying to prove why they're right. So as you watch, what you're going to do is you're going to listen for 2 of their specific arguments on why we should have a big government or why we should have small government. Lots of power, not much power. So listen for those arguments, and you can put 2 bullets under each side of the debate. That is all of the instructions I have for you today. As always, you can contact me via email or text, or you can stop by my Google Meet this afternoon. Thanks so much, 8th graders. Have a great Thursday.